All right, next stop is the harvester. So Amanda, what's this thing called?
This is a Litow machine harvester. So Litow is the company that makes it, and they're generous enough to donate us a machine every summer so that we can pick a lot of our research plots. This can pick blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and black raspberries. So it's very versatile. And you can adjust the settings and the speed. So depending on how hard or how soft you want to pick, you can adjust your speed, how fast and how hard the beaters are moving, which are the things that are down the middle here, which we'll turn on and show them to you in a minute. And then they also have weights that you can add on top of the round drums that have the beaters on them. So the more weight you add, the heavier it is, obviously, but the harder it picks the plants. So for things like blueberries, we're going to pick them a little bit harder than something like a raspberry, where we want to be really gentle. And also with raspberries, they tend to get picked around every other day. So every 2 days, commercially, a farmer will come through and pick just what's right. So you want to be pretty gentle with it. Whereas with blueberries, you might pick it every 10 to 14 days, and you're going to get more of the fruit off at once. So you're going to naturally just be picking a little bit harder. So what happens is, come over here. So these drums here will rotate around, but also back and forth. So they're able to move.
So it kind of shakes as it spins?
Right, so they're gonna shake like this, and then they are able to just move as the bushes push them, essentially. So this is the thing, these are the things, the beater bars, that are knocking the fruit off of the plant. The fruit then falls down onto these catcher plates and onto these conveyor belts, which are rotating, and then into these little white cups. And there's a set of cups on each side, and they take them up to a conveyor belt up on the top. And there are fans that will blow out small green berries, they'll blow out sticks and leaves, any other debris that might be in there. And then they go onto a sorting belt at the very top, where you can have people sorting out anything else that might come through, anything that's underripe, any rot, just anything you don't want in your final product. And then at the end of the conveyor belt, you have a crate, and the fruit just drops right into that crate, and then you can stack it on pallets in the back.
Wow. So pretty much does it all.
It does it all, yeah, exactly. And you need very few people to operate this machine, just a driver, sometimes just one other person dealing with the crates, oftentimes more than that if you're going to be sorting the fruit. So maybe a couple of people between the sorting and the moving of the crates up there.
I imagine, especially in research where you're trying to keep individual plots separate and labeled. And
yeah, we have a few more. Sometimes just somebody doing tags. Because with blueberries, we harvest Elliott blueberries in August, and we last year picked about 10,000 pounds of fruit over the course of just a few hours. So there was a lot of fruit coming off of there at once, and so we had 2 or 3 people sorting, somebody just like putting crates underneath the conveyor belt, somebody handing crates to the person stacking the crates, and it gets a little bit crazy when you have that much fruit coming off. With something like raspberries and blackberries, because you're harvesting them more frequently, it's a little bit less fruit at one time, so it's manageable with fewer people. But either way, it's a much faster way to pick than trying to hand pick. So the goal with these machines, as the technology improves, and all of the companies, there are several other companies that make these machines for harvesting, and they're basically trying to figure out how to make that process more gentle. So especially for blueberries, we can start machine picking for fresh market. Right now, pretty much all of the blueberries that get machine picked are going to the frozen market. So they're getting the individually quick frozen, because it does do some damage. You can imagine a blueberry coming from this high in a bush that's dropping down onto these catcher plates, maybe hitting a few of these on the way down. There's just a lot of opportunities for bruising and damage that way. So the companies really want to make it so they can use these machines and still have a nice, firm, good quality berry that could be sold fresh. So that's the wave of the future. As you know, labor becomes harder to come by and more expensive. You know, these machines are expensive, but still it pays off over time.
I can only imagine. So what's your top speed?
When we're harvesting, I would say top speed is around ½ mile per hour. It goes very slow. Yeah, it's very slow.
Seems prudent with so many things happening at once.
Exactly. Sometimes it's even slower, 0.3, but you know, you have a lot of control over that speed, and just trying to keep it consistent as you go through the field. So
you guys can see right behind Amanda where the 2 drums almost meet. There's kind of a space there. That's going to be where the plant actually is, and then those plates on the bottom open up
Right.
as it hits the stem.
They
As
just
it hits.
move out of the way,
Yeah.
and then they close back up around. And so one of the inefficiencies here, though, is that the fruit can drop on the ground.
I
below
see.
those.
Yeah.
So especially with blueberries, you try and prune a little bit differently. So you prune to a really narrow crown, as opposed to a big wide one. If you're hand picking, it doesn't matter because you're in theory not dropping that much fruit. But here you can imagine if you have a bush that's this wide at the bottom, there's a really big hole that a lot of fruit can fall through. So you want to prune it narrower so there's a smaller hole and less loss on the ground.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can also adjust how far apart these are depending. If you have really gigantic bushes, you might need a little bit more space in there just to pass over them without doing damage. So you can adjust that also.
Cool. All right, you want to fire it up?
Sure.
Let's see. Does this thing take diesel or gas?
Diesel.